In 2022, the Build Back Better proposal included a refundable tax credit of 30% of a new e-bike purchase. The problem? That never happened. Are there any chances for rebates in 2023? The answer is yes. I'm going to go through every single state. Yes, that's right. All 50 states in under 10 minutes. That means I have about 12 seconds per state, and I am now running behind. I'm going to tell you if they have a rebate, what the rebate is, when it's going to apply, what e-bikes it applies to, and if there are any other income limits or other weird restrictions on it, which some of them do have. But let's start off with the great state of Alabama, and the answer is no. I could not find any incentives whatsoever. Number 2, going to Alaska. Probably not very well known for its warm e-bike commutes. Alaska does not currently have any incentives that I could find. Number 3 is the state of Arizona. It's a perfect place. There's lots of sun for solar. It's warm, but surprisingly, no. Number 4 is the state of Arkansas. And no, I couldn't find anything at all for that one. Our first state to have an incentive program is California. Now, the funding has been approved for 2023. It's expected that this program is going to start sometime in the first quarter. As of the day of this recording in late January, you cannot apply for the rebate yet. The rebate amount you can get is anywhere between $750 for a standard e-bike, all the way up to $1,500 for either cargo or adaptive bikes. It can be a Class 1 or 2. Class 3, unfortunately, are excluded. About $10 million has been set aside, so that should be enough rebates for several thousand people. Some of the restrictions are that you must be a California resident. Also, the company you buy from must be in California or have a store in California. Thankfully, Area 13, located right here in California, there is an income cap of 300% of the federal poverty level. In Colorado, they have set aside $12 million in funding starting in the spring of 2023. So again, these are not quite ready yet, but the funding has been approved and it's coming up. But we don't have any details on the state program as far as what is the amount going to be, what e-bike classes it's for. We just know that it's coming. Now, in the meantime, some cities like Denver, Colorado have a massive e-bike rebate program. And we actually have 3 in a row. The state of Connecticut also has e-bike incentives. These are planned to go in effect this spring of 2023. It is going to be a voucher of $500. The one restriction this has that's unique for Connecticut is that it only applies to bikes that have an MSRP under $3,000. The 300% federal poverty level is the maximum income. Moving on to Delaware, the answer is no. And the same goes for Florida. Now, when we get into Georgia, although the state doesn't have any rebate, the city of Atlanta, however, has definitely considered doing e-bike rebates. Aloha! Let's move on to Hawaii. It does, in fact, have an incentive program, and this one's a little bit different. They say it's going to be implemented February 1st of 2023. So that is coming up really, really soon here. The amount is either $500 or 20% of the cost of the bike, whichever is lower. Now, this one is a little bit more restrictive. You have to be 18 years or older. You cannot have a vehicle with 4 wheels or more, or you have to be enrolled in school or a university. So they're definitely targeting a different group of people. Also, something that's a little bit unique is that this program applies to both e-bikes and mopeds. Next up, we have Idaho, or should I say Ida-no. Illinois is also Illa-no. Indiana is Indy. Iowa, that is a no. Kansas may have one of the most famous bicycle scenes ever, but as far as electric bikes are considered, they're not interested in incentivizing them at all. Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, all no's at this point in time. But then we get to the state of Massachusetts. they are planning to implement this in spring of 2023. The rebates are between $500 and $750 for both Class 1 and 2 electric bikes. The amount of the rebate depends on your income. And they have set aside a budget of $1 million. Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana. Every single one of those, unfortunately, is a no. Moving into the ends, we have some no's. Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico. However, surprisingly, when we get to New York, which has been a state infamously known for cracking down on e-bikes, there is a bill in the works. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to actually pass, but there's a chance. If the bill passes, it will cover 50% or up to $1,100 for an e-bike purchase. One thing that's a little odd with this one is if it goes through, is that it will cover Class 1, 2, and 3 e-bikes, but that is per New York law, which, based on what I read, has lower speed limits than other states. North Carolina and North Dakota could also be known as No Carolina and No Dakota. The state of Ohio is also a no. However, they do have some great city programs. As an example, Columbus has set aside $250,000. They just approved that in December of 2022. Oklahoma does have a bill, SB 435, that if passed, would introduce a $200 tax credit. Not as good as some of the other programs that we see on this list, but it's something when many of the states surrounding it don't have anything at all. Oregon is well known for their cycling infrastructure statewide, particularly in the big cities like Portland, and they don't have anything set up yet. Now, there is something pending for 2023. There is about $6 million in funding that's going to be set aside. The amount it's going to be is unknown. What classes of bikes it's going to be is for unknown. So we might see something later this year, but we don't know what the details are going to be. Jumping across to the other side of the country to Pennsylvania, there is no e-bike incentive. The small but great state of Rhode Island does have an e-bike incentive. It was introduced in October of 2022, and it has a rebate of $1,000 or 75% of the purchase of the bike for a low-income household, or for higher income, it is $400 or 30%. Interestingly enough, this works for all classes of e-bikes, 1, 2, and 3. There was $250,000 set aside for this program, and the bike must be purchased in Rhode Island. South Carolina and South Dakota are both no's. Tennessee and Texas don't have anything, but both do have programs either in the works or in play. In Tennessee, Nashville is considering an e-bike program that will cover anywhere from $300 all the way up to $1,400. In Texas, there are substantial programs in the city of Austin. Utah has nothing that I could find. Vermont, however, does. They introduced a program in 2022. It was a rebate of $400. They didn't specify classes of electric bikes. They just said that the bike had to be new and 750 watts or less. Unfortunately, they only put in $50,000 of funding, and they are currently on hold because the funds are all gone. Virginia is an odd one. I have to say that they don't have an incentive program, but I found some mention of a law that was passed back in 2021 that was part of an electric vehicle rebate program that should have included bicycles as well. So although the law did pass, the funding never came to fruition. So the money was never put into the program. No one was ever able to take advantage of it, and nothing seems to have happened since. And finally, the last 4 states on the list, Washington is currently a no. West Virginia, I could not find anything at all. Wisconsin has nothing, and Wyoming, which is no surprise to me because when my parents lived in Wyoming, it was a 45-minute drive to the gas station, most of these states are adopting the same Class 1, 2, and 3 laws. If you want to know how those work and how they apply to you, I've got a great video on that right here.